In the world of peripherals, great ergonomics have always been a key component of a good product. I'm here today with a mouse that promises to excel in this department. My name is Stephen Potter, and this is the Mionix Naos 7000. Let's start off with the physical aspects of this mouse. It's definitely on the larger side, with rest built in for your pinky and ring fingers. Thanks to this, it's probably the most comfortable mouse I've ever used. Sure, my hands are definitely on the small side of the spectrum, but everything feels perfectly set out, with the two side buttons in an easy to reach position. However, this design does make it virtually impossible to use in your left hand. If that's your style, Mionix sell a very similar mouse with an ambidextrous design, the Avia, so feel free to check that out instead. Now, I did notice a slight imperfection in the plastic to the top right side of the mouse. On the whole, all of the pieces come together nicely, but here the case doesn't quite line up perfectly, creating a noticeable sharp edge. I suspect this is just a defect with the unit that I have here, but it's worth noting anyway. Regarding the material choices, Mionix have gone with a similar soft-touch plastic to what we've seen in many other products. Now, I did notice that the coating on this picks up fingerprints a lot more than other finishes I've seen, so I'd recommend keeping a cleaning cloth handy if you want to keep it looking immaculate. I'm a little disappointed not to see any more premium materials included in the build of this mouse. It's not that it doesn't feel solid enough, because it really does, it's just that when you're paying this much for a mouse, you might expect a little more in this area. As has become the standard on higher end gaming mice, the Naos 7000 has a braided cable. This terminates in a gold plated connector, which is nice as it should be slightly more resistant to corrosion than standard USB plugs. Now, some people online have mentioned that the USB connection feels somewhat loose and falls out easily, but in my experience it has worked perfectly well, so take this with a pinch of salt. On the bottom you'll find the ADNS 3310 optical sensor. This is fairly well known to be a good sensor, with accurate tracking and virtually no acceleration. Sure, the 7000 DPI maximum may be somewhat unimpressive compared to some other offerings, but considering how few people use even close to that level of sensitivity, this really shouldn't be a problem. One feature you may well notice is missing on this mouse is the option for weight customization. This normally wouldn't be that much of an issue, but the Naos 7000 is already a very light mouse, at 103 grams without the cable. Now, I'm not that fussed as I'm a big fan of less heavy mice, but if you're not, then this may be a deal breaker. The buttons on this mouse are about as responsive as you'd expect. Playing one finger death punch, I was perfectly satisfied by the tactile feedback that this mouse provides. I couldn't blame it for any issues I was having in the game. Playing some first-person shooters, I found tracking to be similarly excellent, with quick and accurate representation of mouse movement. Taking a look at the software, you'll find a tabbed interface with easy switching between any of the 5 profiles you can have saved. So, in the first pane you'll see the options to remap all of the 7 buttons to almost anything you could want to, polling rate adjustment, controls for double click and scroll speed, and the ability to turn on mouse acceleration, although I'm not entirely sure why you would want to. In the Sensor Performance tab, you'll be able to adjust the DPI at each of the levels, and change pointer speed and liftoff distance. There's also a handy surface quality analyzer if you're wondering how well the mouse is tracking on whatever you're using it on. Regarding color setting options, you can change either of the illuminated regions independently, with full RGB control and several lighting effects. This should allow you to color match this mouse to almost any theme, or just go crazy if you're into that. Strangely, every time you apply a setting to this mouse, the LEDs flash and the tracking goes way off for a second or so. This won't really impact your experience with the mouse, but I did find it a bit odd considering many other mice don't have this issue. Back to the software, in the macro settings tab you'll be able to, surprisingly enough, set up macros. I don't personally use macros that often, but if you do, it appears fully featured enough to get whatever you want done. Finally, you'll find the support page where you can download the latest firmware and get links to Mionix's site. Altogether, the Mionix Naos 7000 is definitely one of the nicest mice around, with accurate tracking, great ergonomics and highly customizable lighting. While it might be let down by unimpressive build quality and a lack of weight customization, it may well still be the best choice out there. Thanks a lot for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, then feel free to give it a dislike. If you have a question or some more detailed feedback, then leave that in the comment section below. If you'd like to see more of these videos, make sure you click the subscribe button, and if you live in the UK and are interested in buying this product while supporting the channel, follow the Amazon link in the description to give me a kickback when you order.